Okay, imagine this. What if there was, like, a secret world running right alongside ours, totally hidden, filled with things that just defy explanation?
Yeah, like reality-bending entities, objects that mess with your mind, creatures that, well, shouldn't exist.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's the whole fascinating idea behind the SCP Foundation.
right. So today, we're really diving deep into this huge, captivating world. It's all collaborative online fiction, basically.
A massive shared universe.
Yeah, think of it as this giant collective thought experiment. It pushes the edges of what's possible, explores those unsettling corners of the unknown. And our goal here isn't just, telling scary
No,
stories.
not just that.
We want to get into why this fictional universe feels so real to so many people, why it resonates with our imagination, that feeling of something hidden just out of sight.
Definitely. So for this deep dive, we've looked at, well, quite a bit, articles about the core structure of the actual SCP Wiki itself, which is just immense.
Constantly growing.
And also, know your meme, tracking how it spread through internet culture. So our mission today,
Mm-hmm.
unpack the SCP Foundation, what makes it tick, look at some key anomalies, the really mind-bending stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately try to figure out why it connects so strongly with our ideas about reality and, the secrets it might hold. Okay, so basics first.
Mm-hmm.
What's the core mission? The SCP Foundation's purpose.
Okay, so it boils down to 3 words. Secure, contain, protect. That's their motto.
Right.
This fictional organization, its whole job is to find anomalous things, entities, places, phenomena, basically anything that breaks the known laws of nature.
Stuff that shouldn't be real.
Exactly. Then, once they've secured it, the big priority is containment, keeping it locked down, preventing public knowledge, maintaining normalcy for the rest of us.
Keep the world thinking everything's fine.
Pretty much. And finally, protect. Shielding humanity from the dangers these SCPs often pose. Some are just weird, but others could be catastrophic, even reality-ending. It's pictured as this global secret network, privately funded, operating completely in the shadows.
Totally off the grid.
Yeah,
And the way these things are documented, the format, that's a huge part of why it feels so convincing, right? It's not like reading a fantasy story.
absolutely not. The SCP Wiki, it's filled with thousands of these SCP files, and they're deliberately written to look like classified documents.
It's like something you'd find redacted in a government archive.
Precisely. You get these detailed descriptions, really specific special containment procedures, often with addendums like incident logs, test results, interview transcripts. It's this quasi-scientific, almost clinical tone.
Yeah.
And that style is absolutely key for immersion. It grounds the fantastical, makes it feel weirdly plausible, like you stumbled onto something you weren't supposed to see.
A peek behind the curtain at the truly bizarre. Now, one of the first things you run into is the object class system. How do they categorize all this weirdness? Can you break that down?
Sure. The object classes are basically the Foundation's shorthand for how hard an anomaly is to contain and how dangerous it is.
Makes sense?
Safe is the first one. These are anomalies that are, relatively speaking, easy to contain. Maybe they're well understood, or just inert, inanimate objects that don't do much unless you interact with them in a specific way.
So, not necessarily harmless, but predictable.
Exactly. Then you have Euclid. These require more significant resources to keep contained. They might be unpredictable, often sentient, and potentially dangerous if containment is breached or if they're not watched carefully. A lot of living entities fall into this category.
Oh, getting trickier.
And then there's Keter. Keter-class anomalies are the really serious threats. They're extremely difficult, often incredibly dangerous to contain. They might require complex, resource-intensive procedures, and sometimes containment isn't even fully possible.
Those are the big problems, the ones causing major headaches for the Foundation.
Definitely. Those are the main 3 you'll see most often.
Are there other classes besides Safe, Euclid, and Keter?
Yeah, a couple more that are pretty important for understanding the bigger picture. There's Thaumiel. These are actually anomalies the Foundation uses.
This is how.
They use them to contain other SCPs, or maybe the anomaly itself is crucial to the Foundation's operations in some way. It's like using one weird thing to control another.
Fighting fire with fire, basically.
Exactly that. And then there's Apollyon. This one's rare, thankfully. It's for anomalies that are essentially uncontainable and pose an immediate existential threat, like end-of-the-world level stuff.
Yikes. Okay, so a whole range from weird but manageable to potentially reality-ending. Now, speaking of weird and unsettling, the Foundation has created some truly iconic anomalies over the years. Which ones really stand out, the famous ones?
Well, it's interesting because there isn't one single official canon. It's all collaboratively written. But yes, certain SCPs have definitely become legendary within the community.
Like SCP-173.
Exactly. The sculpture. It's number one, literally the first one ever written, and still maybe the most famous. It's this statue made of concrete and rebar. Totally inanimate, as long as you're looking directly at it.
Don't blink.
Don't blink.
Yeah.
The second you break eye contact, even for a split second, it moves incredibly fast. And it attacks by snapping necks.
Chilling.
The containment is simple but terrifying. Constant, direct line of sight by at least two people. Always.
That core concept is just so primal and effective. What else? What other famous ones show the kind of creativity we're talking about?
Well, there's SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. Looks like a medieval plague doctor, right? And it believes it can cure something it calls the pestilence.
Sounds helpful.
Not really. His cure involves, well, killing the subject and then reanimating them into these sort of zombie-like creatures.
That's definitely not helpful.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah. Then you've got SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile.
The name says it all, I guess.
Pretty much. It's this large reptilian creature that's incredibly resilient. It can regenerate from almost anything, adapts to threats, and seems to just hate all life. The Foundation logs detailing all the failed attempts to terminate it are extensive and grim.
A nearly indestructible monster filled with hate. Lovely. I remember reading about one that's dangerous just if you see it.
Yeah, you're probably thinking of SCP-096, the Shy Guy.
That's the one.
Tall, really thin humanoid figure. The problem is, if anyone sees its face directly, in a photo, even a video recording, doesn't matter, it enters this extreme rage state.
And then
it hunts down whoever saw its face, relentlessly. Distance, obstacles, nothing stops it until it kills them. It's pure paranoia fuel, playing on that fear of being watched or seeing something you shouldn't have.
makes you want to avoid looking at any weird pictures online. Now, I saw the Wikipedia overview mention a bunch more, too. Any others worth highlighting just to show the sheer variety?
Oh, absolutely. The creativity is just boundless.
Yeah.
Like, SCP-055, it's called an anti-meme. Basically, you can perceive it, but you instantly forget what it is.
You forget it exists.
Or at least you can't retain any specific information about it. Makes describing it or even confirming what it does almost impossible. Then there's SCP-087, the stairwell.
Right? The endless stairs.
Yeah, seems to go down forever into darkness. You hear what sounds like a child crying, and sometimes people glimpse this disturbing face with no features called SCP-0871, super creepy atmosphere.
Definitely.
SCP-294 is a coffee vending machine. Sounds normal, right?
Uh-oh. What's the catch?
It can dispense almost any liquid you can think of or even describe. People have ordered things like liquid gold, antimatter, even abstract concepts like a cup of music or my deepest fears. The results can be unpredictable.
A vending machine dispensing abstract concepts. Okay, that's really pushing the boundary.
It really is. Then SCP-426. It's a toaster.
A toaster. What does it do? Make killer toast.
Sort of. Anyone who talks or writes about it starts referring to it in the first person, and eventually they come to believe that they are, in fact, a toaster.
Oh, wow. That's insidious.
Isn't it? On a totally different note, there's SCP-999, the tickle monster. It's this big, orange, gelatinous blob.
Sounds cute.
It actually is. It induces intense euphoria and happiness in anyone it touches and smells like whatever that person finds most comforting. It's one of the few purely benevolent SCPs.
Okay, good. We needed a happy one in there, a friendly blob.
We did. But then back to the weird. SCP-1171 is a house where you can talk to this xenophobic entity from another dimension by writing on condensation on the windows.
Weird communication method.
Definitely. And SCP-1209 has a really sad, strange backstory. It used to be a helpful chair that would just teleport to anyone nearby who needed a seat.
Ah, nice chair.
Yeah. But then another group, the Global Occult Coalition, they basically destroyed it, turned it into wood chips. Now it's a sentient pile of mulch that teleports violently into the lungs of anyone acting aggressively nearby, or even just wearing like a GOC uniform.
Vengeful mulch, that's something.
And one that's super popular, SCP-3008, the Infinite IKEA.
I've heard of this one.
It looks like a regular IKEA from the outside, but once you're in, the exits vanish. It's seemingly endless, filled with basic shelters made by other trapped people. And at night...
What happens at night?
Tall, faceless humanoid figures wearing IKEA uniforms called SCP-3008-2 start wandering around. And they are very hostile.
An infinite, inescapable IKEA filled with hostile staff creatures.
Yeah.
That is a uniquely terrifying modern nightmare.
It really is. And the sheer volume and creativity of these things, it's just incredible. It really speaks to the power of this whole collaborative setup, you know?
Yeah.
How does that actually work, the SCP Wiki as a project?
How does it all come together?
So, the SCP Wiki is this amazing example of decentralized collaborative fiction. It's built on a platform where basically anyone can apply to contribute. Once you're approved, you can write new SCP articles or tales, which are stories set in the universe.
So anyone can just add anything. How do they maintain quality?
Well, that's the key. There's a really robust community moderation system. Every article has a discussion page for feedback, critiques, suggestions, and crucially, there's a rating system. Members vote on articles, and if something consistently gets low ratings, it eventually gets deleted.
Peer review, basically.
Exactly. It's a pretty rigorous process, which helps maintain a surprisingly high standard across this absolutely massive, constantly growing database.
It's like this living, breathing, fictional world built piece by thousands of people. And it's clearly had a huge impact, culturally speaking. Beyond just the wiki itself, where has the SCP Foundation shown up?
Oh, its influence is really undeniable, especially in internet culture. Think creepypasta, urban legends, indie horror games. It's huge there. The wiki itself covers genres from horror and sci-fi to urban fantasy. And we've seen tons of adaptations. Video games are a big one. Control borrows heavily from the SCP aesthetic.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then there are dedicated SCP games like Containment Breach, Secret Laboratory, SCP-5K, Secret Files, loads of them, many starting as fan projects.
Okay.
Plus films and web series. Confinement is a popular animated series. SCP Overlord was a really well-received short film.
Wow, across media?
Even books, graphic novels, spin-off novels like There Is No Antimemetics Division, exploring some of the deeper lore. There was even a stage play called Welcome to the Ethics Committee.
A stage play. Okay, that shows some serious dedication from the fan base. So what's the secret sauce? Why does this specific universe resonate so deeply with so many people?
I think it's a few key things working together. First, that quasi-scientific tone we talked about.
The clinical report.
Exactly. Mimicking official documents gives it this powerful veneer of realism, grounding the strangeness. Then there's just the basic human fascination with hidden worlds, right? Secrets, conspiracies, the idea that there's more going on than we see.
Taps into that curiosity.
Definitely. And it plays directly on our fear of the unknown, the incomprehensible, things that don't fit our neat categories of reality. But maybe the most powerful element is how it takes ordinary things, a statue, a doctor, a store, and twists them into something terrifying or bizarre.
The mundane made monstrous.
That's a great way to put it. It creates this unsettling feeling that danger or strangeness could be lurking anywhere, even in the familiar.
Which, yeah, leads right into the big question everyone asks eventually. Is any of this real? Could there actually be an SCP Foundation?
Right, that's the elephant in the room. And, well, as far as anyone can prove, the SCP Foundation is purely fiction. It's an incredible writing project.
But it feels so real sometimes.
It does. And that's because it taps into some really deep psychological stuff. Our fascination with conspiracy theories, for one. The idea that powerful groups might be hiding world-changing secrets.
The X-Files vibe.
Totally. And it also hits on those primal fears, fear of things we can't understand, things we can't control, things that just break all the rules.
So even if SCP-173 isn't actually hiding in a containment cell somewhere,
Yeah.
the ideas and fears it represents are very real human experiences.
Precisely. By making the ordinary seem potentially horrific, it kind of shifts your perspective. And it explores very human responses to the impossible things like duty, sacrifice, the psychological stress of dealing with this stuff. So no, probably no literal SCP Foundation, but it's truth. That lies in how it sparks our imagination, makes us question reality, explores fear and wonder. It really mirrors our own anxieties about the unexplained parts of the world.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, like any big online community, especially one this influential, the SCP Foundation's had its share of drama, right? Some controversies.
Yeah, that's true. It hasn't been entirely smooth sailing. There was a significant one a few years back, often called the Pride logo controversy.
What happened?
Basically, the official SCP wiki accounts on Tumblr and Twitter changed their logos to rainbow versions for Pride Month. Standard practice for many groups, but it caused a backlash from some users.
Why?
Some felt it was injecting politics into a purely fictional project, maybe stemming from the wiki's origins on places like 4chan, where that kind of identity politics is often viewed negatively. It got pretty heated and actually led to a splinter group forming.
A splinter group.
Yeah, called the RPC Authority. Their stated goal was to create a similar fictional universe but keep it strictly separate from real-world politics.
Interesting. Did that work out?
Well, the RPC Authority did set up its own wiki with a different classification system, Greek letters and color codes instead of safe Euclid Keter. But unfortunately, they also faced accusations of bigotry within their own ranks. There were reports of moderators and users using racial slurs on their Discord and other platforms.
Yikes. So, trying to escape one kind of conflict led to another. That shows how tricky managing these big online spaces can be. There was also a big legal fight over the name itself, wasn't there? A trademark issue.
Oh, yeah, that was a major one. Back in 2019, this guy in Russia, Andrei Duksin, managed to register the trademark for SCP Foundation in Russia and some neighboring countries.
Yeah, isn't the whole point that it's community created under Creative Commons?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the huge problem. Almost all SCP content is under a Creative Commons license, specifically one that allows sharing and even commercial use, as long as you give credit. Duksin getting the trademark threatened that whole setup. He could potentially shut down fan projects, control the official Russian SCP branch, basically try to own something built by a global community.
That sounds really bad for the collaborative spirit.
It was. The community reacted fast. They organized, launched a big fundraising campaign to fight it legally. People really stepped up. Even big YouTubers like Markiplier chipped in.
Did they win?
They did eventually. It took time. But in 2021, the Russian Federal Anti-Monopoly Service ruled against Dixon. They recognized he didn't create the SCP Foundation and called his trademark registration unfair competition. It took a bit longer to fully cancel the trademark, but that finally happened in late 2022. A huge win for the community and for Creative Commons principles.
That's great to hear the community could protect his work like that. And wasn't there also something more recent about the picture for SCP-173, the original sculpture image?
Yes, that's right. The famous picture of SCP-173, the one everyone knew, it was actually based on a real sculpture called Untitled 2004 by a Japanese artist, Izumi Kato. The photo itself was taken by someone else, Kisuke Yamamoto.
And they didn't have permission.
Well, the person who first posted SCP-173 didn't get formal permission to use the image, especially not for something that became so widely known and sometimes used commercially in fan projects. Kato, the artist, had apparently been okay with non-commercial use, but the Foundation decided, in early 2022, to remove the image entirely from the SCP-173 article.
Why remove it after all that time?
Their reasoning was basically out of respect for the artist. The sculpture had become so synonymous with SCP-173 that it kind of overshadowed Kato's original artistic intent. Removing it was a way to honor his vision and also avoid any future legal tangles over licensing. Interestingly, the original author of the SCP-173 entry asked that no replacement image be used.
So now it's just description.
Yeah, leaving the visual up to the reader's imagination, which is kind of fitting in a way. It shows how these projects have to navigate tricky IP issues as they grow.
Absolutely. So despite these kinds of internal debates and external challenges, the overall view of the SCP Foundation, critically and popularly, seems really positive, right?
Overwhelmingly so, yeah. It gets praised constantly for its creativity and just how genuinely creepy it can be. CNET highlighted the creepiness. The Daily Dot called it some of the best horror writing online, pointing to that unique, pragmatic, deadpan style.
That clinical tone again.
Right. The Christian Science Monitor noted its tongue-in-cheek humor sometimes. Inverse compared it favorably to H.P. Lovecraft because of the pseudo-academic feel and the sheer cosmic dread. And commentators like Brian Alexander have called it a major achievement in wiki storytelling, maybe one of the most advanced examples out there.
That's some serious acclaim.
Mm-hmm.
It really has gone from just one post on 4chan to this global cultural force that kind of messes with your perception of reality. I saw American Journalism Review suggested it might literally be the biggest collaborative writing project ever.
It's definitely up there. It's just this incredible example of what collective imagination can build, tapping into that shared fascination with mystery and the unknown.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive. We've looked at the SCP Foundation as this massive, ongoing, collaborative story machine. It explores that blurry line between reality and, well, whatever lies beyond it.
The anomalous.
Through thousands of weird, wonderful, often terrifying anomalies and the stories around them, it's definitely changed how a lot of people think. about the unexplained, about the possibility of hidden worlds right under our noses.
Yeah.
And it does leave you with that final nagging thought. Are these things really just fiction? Could there be some real group somewhere doing the whole secure, contain, protect thing for real, keeping us safe from stuff we can't even imagine?
That's the hook, isn't it? That lingering what if. It taps right into that fundamental human curiosity that maybe, just maybe, there's more going on than meets the eye.
So we definitely want to know what you think. Do you have a favorite SCP we didn't get to? Or your own theories about weird stuff happening in the world? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, share your thoughts.
And if you like digging into the strange and unexplained with us today, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the unknown.